Hi, everybody. Hello. I'm so glad you're taking the time to join us. My name is Josephine Vita. I'm the director of the International Students and Scholars Office here at UT Dallas. We have invited you to come to listen to us speak about a few topics specifically focused on travel information and enrollment. We've got a couple of folks here to speak with you. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Alyssa Walker to introduce herself, and then we're going to go ahead and get started.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Walker. I'm an associate director in the ISSO, and I help students with advising services. We're glad you can join us today to deliver a lot of important information that may impact your summer and fall plans. And I am now going to hand it over to Juan Gonzalez, the Dean of Graduate Education.
Okay, well, thank you to all again. A warm welcome to all of you during the webinar. For those of you that are joining us from India and other countries suffering from this pandemic, I would like to say that we are in unity and solidarity with all of you during these difficult times. Please take care of yourself and your loved ones. This is a terrible pandemic and has delayed our aspirations and goals for far too long. We should not allow this any longer. So for those of you that are capable, I encourage you to enroll early so you can secure the courses that you want. We're confident that you will be able to join us soon. If you cannot be here by the start of the semester, we will find ways to ensure that you keep up with your courses, and then when you get here, you will have a smooth transition to your classroom. Now, we will ensure your safety and well-being by offering vaccinations and COVID tests for all of those who want them. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have any questions, and I hope you stay safe. I'll pass it back to Ms. Josephine Vita.
Great. Thank you so much, everybody. And sorry about those technological delays. So as I mentioned, we had a few topics that we wanted to cover with everybody. We want to talk about information related to summer and fall travel. We would like to talk about enrollment requirements that are going to be in effect from fall 2021 and onwards, and then talk a little bit about ISSO services. Just in terms of some housekeeping, you're welcome to ask questions in the Q&A chat. We are going to be answering some of them and during the conversation. Some of them we're going to be discussing at the end because we know that a lot of people are going to want to hear some of those answers. The session will be recorded. We'll be happy to share the information with the recording so that if you want to review it or share it with someone else, that will be available. We appreciate your time in attending. And just one little disclaimer, we all know things are changing rapidly, unexpectedly. So this is the information that we have currently. And if anything changes, we'll continue to update you via our immigration news or advising services. So there's a couple of things for you to keep in mind in terms of your travel plans. And I'm going to be very broad because I know this audience constitutes prospective students who have not yet arrived for the first time, current students who are in the US, current students who might be outside the United States, and possibly some alumni. So I'm going to give some broad information and cover some of these, some of you groups specifically. So let's talk about departing the United States. A lot of you all have reached out to us because maybe you had plans to travel or you're trying to decide whether it is appropriate for you to travel outside the United States. In terms of departing, just in the university, what we have realized it's important for us to keep track of where community members are. Our Office of Emergency Management is asking departing staff, students to report their international travel. It's not an approval. You don't have to wait for them to tell you yes, you can or you can't. If it's personal travel, you are welcome to depart the United States. However, it helps them understand where community members are and also to give guidance to you in terms of your arrival back in the United States or what you might find in your country of your destination country. Students also ask us a lot about travel signatures, which is the signature on the second page of your I-20 that facilitates your re-entry to the United States. So what we want to know is if you have emergency travel and you need to depart, don't wait on a travel signature. Please, if you need to go, you can depart. That I-20 signature is really only essential for a return to the United States, not for departure. So don't delay if you need to depart the United States. Keep in mind that you may already have an I-20 that's valid for reentry. Most students have an I-20 that's been issued within the last 12 months, either because of CPT, OPT, or any other purpose. So have a look and see what the last signature on your I-20 is. If you're a current student, you may use that same I-20 to re-enter the US within 12 months. And if you are an alumni, you can use it for re-entry within 6 months. I hope that gives you some peace in mind. Now, there's lots of things to consider during this environment related to whether or not it's a good idea to travel. And many of you maybe want to see family or have other issues that make it important for you to travel outside the United States. So I encourage you, you can always reach out to us. We can help you think through how to make that decision. We're not going to tell you what to do. Sometimes it's, you know, there are very valid reasons for you to go home. But we want to help you understand what the pros and cons are for you to be able to travel or decide not to travel. What we do advise you to strongly consider is getting health insurance with everything that's going on, even if you're going to be outside your country or if you're not outside the United States or not enrolled in classes. We do strongly encourage you to obtain health insurance. If you are going to be a returning student or arriving in the United States for the first time, as always, check CDC and Department of State guidance about what the re-entry information is. You will need, as I'm sure you know, a negative COVID test to enter the United States or to board a plane to enter the United States. And then we ask that you take 3 to 5 days quarantine, and then within 3 to 5 days of arrival to take another COVID test, just to ensure that you are still negative. If you're going to be going to university housing, they are going to want to see evidence of your arrival in the United States, your date in the quarantine before you move into housing. We're so fortunate that we have testing capacity on campus. We expect that to continue in the fall. We also have vaccination capacity on campus. We also expect that to continue in the fall. If, however, you have been vaccinated already outside the United States with a CDC approved vaccination, please know that you do not need to get another vaccination when you arrive. That will be sufficient to protect you while you are here. So we're so fortunate when we opened up the capacity on campus, and we encourage you to utilize it. Vaccines are not required, but they're very much strongly encouraged. And in the event that any of you are returning to the U.S. after authorized early withdrawal, meaning your F1 status was put on pause because you're outside of the United States for more than for less than 5 months, please reach to us at a minimum 60 days prior to your plans to travel in the United States so that we can assist you with that. And we do ask that you update your address in Orion within 10 calendar days. If you're going to travel outside and stay for the summer, update your address to reflect that overseas address, and then update it again upon your arrival in the United States, your return to the United States. So we all know that the visa situation is challenging. It's a very challenging environment. Only 40% of U.S. consulates and embassies are routinely scheduling appointments for visa interviews. They are dealing with lockdown requirements in the country that they're in. They're also dealing with, illness upon their staff, and really, like everybody else, are adjusting operations as a result of this pandemic. We know many of them are closed or operating only on an emergency basis. And once they reopen, as they start to reopen, we do see that there's a backlog, not just of F1 students, but of a variety of business and other types of travelers. So they're being very heavily utilized. One thing we identified very early on in April was the importance for UT Dallas, which has such a large population, to reach out to the Department of State and engage with them on the importance of identifying safe ways for visa services to remain accessible to all of you students who are seeking to get it. So along with other Texas institutions, we have reached out to the Department of State directly. We've reached out to other representatives who support our success to make that point very clear. And the Department of State gets it. And within limitations of safety, you know, we do see that there's a desire to open that up. We've been very encouraged that the embassies in China have been starting to make some visa appointments available beginning this week. And so we're hoping that as local conditions allow, some of these things will be eased and you will start to see more appointments being available. Now, a lot of embassies do not allow for emergency appointments, or if they do, their definition of emergency, they're really looking at things related to health. You know, if you need to come to the United States for surgery, etc. There are some limited opportunities for academically based emergency appointments. For the embassies where we see that, what they're requiring is the I-20 with the start date within 60 days. So at that point, if the embassy allows it and that time has arrived, you have the documentation to be able to reach out to the embassy and seek out a visa appointment. There's not going to be any additional document in addition, other than that the embassy is going to need to see from the university in order to provide you with that. So let's talk about the Presidential Proclamations, because it's actually there's a lot of information about it, and some of it is better than others. So what was done recently, and has been done actually over the last several months with a variety of countries, is to suspend entry into the United States for individuals who've been in those countries in the last 14 days. So it is not, you know, you can't come in if you're a national citizen from this country. It's none of those things, but it's really about individuals who are physically present in those areas where there is a concern about the public safety and public health, rather. And so the most recent one was India, but as you can see on the list, there's a variety of regions and countries which are also covered by that. Now, the good news is that international students, exchange visitors, are really important to our country. We recognize the value of everything that you do in terms of the academic and geographic diversity. And so they have granted exceptions to allow you to enter the United States under certain circumstances. And so what they're looking at are if your academic program begins, if you're a new student, or continues, if you're a current student, August 1st or later, you can enter the United States in the 30 days before the start of your academic program. So what this does is limit travel from those geographically identified regions right now, but allow that travel in F1 status later on in the summer. So in order to enter the United States, one of two conditions must be met. You either need to not be entering from one of those geographically restricted countries, meaning you may have quarantined in another country for 14 days, or you just are not in those countries, or you're coming directly from one of those geographic regions, but that's going to be later on, right? In the 30 days before the start of fall classes. The language didn't speak to OPT and STEM alumni. However, our reading and the reading of colleagues in the field is that OPT and STEM alumni will be able to enter the United States after August. That would be the time. Even if you already have a visa for earlier, the likelihood of being allowed entry during the summer is going to be very limited. So this is going to impact individuals differently. So if you have a valid visa, whether that's because you are a continuing student who's outside the United States or a new student who's already received a visa, if you have an I-20 to start classes in the summer, again, you'd want to, if you're coming from one of those areas, you'd want to quarantine in another country for 14 days. or wait to enter the United States after August 1. We still have a number of online classes. You know, we encourage in the summertime, we encourage you to reach out to your academic department to see what your academic options are. If you have a fall I-20 start date, then we're going to come in the 30 days prior to the start of fall. So that's going to be starting in July 24th. You have your visa, you have your I-20, make your travel plans, and we'll see you when you get here to the United States. You still need a visa to enter the United States. If you're a continuing student who is outside the United States, it's going to be very similar, either quarantine or you come back before the start of classes for the fall semester. And for OPT alumni, STEM alumni, as I mentioned, right, come after August 1st or quarantine first. So generally, if you have a valid visa already and you're coming for an August 1st start or continuation of study, you don't need to do anything with the embassy. You don't need to apply for an NIE. It's actually automatically a part of your visa. They've just given it a blanket exemption. And they're not going to be able to facilitate your travel if you're trying to come earlier than that. But if you already have your visa, you can come later on and without any additional embassy assistance. If you do not yet have a visa and you are from one of those affected countries, what you need to do, what they have said, is check with visa services in your nearest embassy or consulate. That may be in your country, that may be at a neighboring country, depending on where you are. If you are granted that visa, that NIE, the National Interest Exemption, will be part of that for you to arrive later on in the summer for the start of classes in the fall. Different embassies are having a different approach about when they're going to issue visas for that fall start date. So you'd really want to check with them about the availability for it. But we do know that they will not be issuing visas for I-20s with summer start dates. So we finished discussing travel and visa issues. The next thing that we know we're getting a lot of questions about from students is about enrollment requirements. Ever since the pandemic started, every semester we have been waiting for Department of Homeland Security to update us on what are the immigration requirements going to be. And so we've had a lot of flexibility to allow online enrollment, significantly more online enrollment than we had historically. And we've been waiting to see what's happened in the fall. They updated it, so now we know, and we know for the entire academic year, which is going to be fall 2021, spring 22, and summer 22. So that way you can have a little bit more time to plan your enrollment, and just know the normal enrollment requirements are going to resume in fall 2022. So the way that the Student and Exchange Visitor Program, which is SEVP, looks at it is they've divided international students into F1 international students in two categories. Students who are in active status on March 2020, specifically March 9th, 2020, have a lot more flexibility to have online classes, but it does still need to be a full course load. So you can be entirely online immigration-wise if you were in valid status at that time when the pandemic began, at least for us in the United States. If you entered the United States or changed your status to F1 after March 9th, 2020, you need to have at least one course with an in-person component in order to maintain your F1 status, and you need to actually go to those classes, right? It's still going to be the same 9 credit hours for full-time enrollment for a graduate, 12 for an undergraduate, unless you have a reduced course load authorization. So immigration in this case is fairly flexible, and it continues a lot of the rules that they allowed in the previous semesters. However, what you need to keep in mind is that the university has been really encouraged by the levels of reduction of disease within the DFW area and the availability of the vaccine. And we have been so heartened to see the messages from the president that we are going to be having a fall that looks near normal. And so as a result, the majority of classes are going to be face-to-face, traditional face-to-face classes that you would have seen prior to the pandemic. So even though immigration may have a little bit more flexibility, you're really not going to find sufficient classes to enroll full-time in an online basis. So we want to make sure all of our students who are outside the DFW area know to make plans to arrive so that you can have your in-person classes and continue with your academic studies and all of the things that our campus has to offer as part of your educational experience. The last point I want to touch on, it'll just take me a few minutes and then we're going to get into questions. So the ISSO, like most offices on campus, pretty much all of the campus offices on campus have been working remotely, and we will continue to work remotely until 6/1. 6/1 is when the last of our staff are going to be coming into the office. You'll have seen, some of you who may have popped by, you may have seen people coming and going, but we're really not open yet. We're waiting until our staff have arrived to be able to serve students. So we'll be moving back in. We got to move computers and chairs and everything like that so we can get set up. And we're really looking forward to having our full office back here. And what you're going to start seeing is a resumption of in-person services that next month in July. We want to be able to get ourselves ready, and then we'll start giving some choices in terms of appointments so that maybe you have the option to do Teams appointments or you can come in on campus. I know for so many of you that in-person appointment is very important. So if you have documents to submit to the ISSO, you're going to continue to do that in iComment, but we also have a physical drop box right outside the ISSO office. So you don't need to come in, you can just come and drop it off over there. We have been really pleased that the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, has allowed us to issue electronic I-20s. We are going to continue that for as long as they'll let us, and then we will, for the students who need physical I-20s, for example, if you're applying for a Social Security card, they really want to see your physical I-20. We are going to be transitioning to a locker, kind of like an Amazon locker. It's right outside the SSB. We're so excited about it so that you can get a code, pick up your documents. You don't have to worry about business hours and rushing here on time. You know, it'll be available 24 hours a day. So we're very excited about that service. And then we're going to be in the fall expanding the hours when you can call and have someone answer the phone. We do always want to remind you that those are student employees who answer the phone. So please ask them general questions. They're not able to provide you with immigration advising. So like you, we've had to adapt. We've had to be resilient. You know, we are the face of immigration for you, but we've also been, you know, helping support you through all the regulatory changes and educating our kids and dealing with illness. We've all, the ISSO as well as you, we've all gone through so many changes this last year. We're very proud that we've still been able to expand some of our services with upgrading our Ask an Advisor, introducing group chats for small group topics, live chats. We know hundreds of students have been able to access advising that way, these team events, and some more e-forms. So we look forward to interacting you more person to person. We've missed that personal touch, and we look forward to seeing you soon. So that is all that I had for the slideshow. Alyssa and I are going to work to answer some of the questions that you may have.
All right, our first question is, I am traveling to India and coming back in August. Our first question is, I'm traveling to India and coming back in August. Do I need a new I-20 with the fall session dates on it? So I can answer that question. If you're a continuing student, you do not need a new I-20 with the fall session dates. You can re-enter the U.S. with your current I-20 if you had a travel signature within the past 12 months. Just know that you'll be allowed to re-enter the country up to 30 days before the fall session start date, which should be around July 24th.
And if I may also add to that, we report to Department of Homeland Security the start date of all semesters. And so they have that in their database when UT Dallas start date is, which is going to be different from another university, right? It may be different from another university. So they should have that information. However, you are welcome to take, other types of documentation like the UTD academic calendar, which has a start date of classes there. If you want to have something you can present to them regarding the start of classes.
Right. Our next question is, I am a continuing student. Shall I apply for a national interest exemption at the local consulate? I will throw that one to Josephine.
Sure. So if you are a continuing student and you already have a visa to enter the United States, you do not need to request an NIE. And kind of let me explain it two ways. The NIE sometimes is a specific document that you apply for under certain circumstances, and they can also give a blanket NIE that covers categories of people. So if you are a continuing student, you have an F1 visa, and you're arriving to start classes or resume classes in the 30 days before the fall start date, you do not need to go to the embassy or email them to get an NIE, to get a physical thing that says NIE. There's nothing that they are going to give you. The NIE, the exemption, is provided to you so long as you are F1 with a visa entering within that time frame from the affected region, or you've traveled to another country, or you're coming to the United States from one of the countries that's not covered in the Presidential Proclamation.
All right, we have another question. Next question, for how long can we stay outside the USA on F1 visa? I can answer that question. So there is typically a 5-month rule that says F1 students can only maintain status if they've been out of the US for less than 5 months. During COVID times and the new FAQ that's been published, there's an exception. So as long as you're maintaining F1 status by enrolling full-time each long semester, then you do not have to worry about the 5-month rule applying to you during the 2021-22 academic year. Okay, we have another question. If I'm unable to join the campus by 23rd August due to visa appointments, is there a possibility to join the campus later? I will pass that question to Josephine.
Sure, I'll be happy to answer that. So the best thing is always to enter the US by the program start date. We know there are many reasons why beyond your control you may not be able to arrive on campus. So there are a couple of things for you to consider. Certainly the ISSO is able to update your I-20 to allow you to arrive on campus at a later date. And the two options that you have are going to be the start of the second 8-week term, which begins on October 18th. We can give you an I-20 that has a start date of October 18th, and you can arrive in the United States in the 30 days before that, so approximately September 19th. Alternatively, if you're going to be delayed longer than that, we can issue an I-20 for you for the spring semester. That I'm not sure that I know the date, but usually it's going to be the first or second Monday in January. So we can absolutely issue the I-20 for you to arrive at a later date if that is needed because of your delays.
Okay, I don't think we have any other questions at this time. If you have any other questions, please post them in the chat. Additionally, I will say that if you can't think of questions now, but you have them later, we do have talk advising this evening that you can link to from our website from 5 to 7 p.m. And you can always schedule an appointment to meet with an advisor or submit an Ask an Advisor e-form. Oh, we have a question. When I go to schedule one-on-one general advising with ISSO on the website, there doesn't seem to be any dates available in the form. When does this get updated? So every day, new appointments are made available for 7 days into the future. So I recommend you, if you don't see dates available for appointments, I recommend you checking that on a daily basis so that you can get an appointment. If you don't see appointments available, I recommend you joining our talk advising that we have Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, where you can answer questions live, ask questions live, and we will answer questions live, or you can submit an Ask an Advisor e-form.
Okay, so it looks like we have gone through the information that we have, and we have answered the questions that have been presented. We're going to go ahead and thank you so much for attending this session. I hope it's been able to give you some information that you needed. As we said earlier, the session will be is being recorded and will be sent out and made available to you all. So the last thing I want to leave you with is that, we know that so many of our students, so many of you are going through a variety of difficult situations. We encourage you to continue to be resilient. Things are improving in so many ways, although there's still very dark days ahead of us to get through. So if there's anything we can do to assist you, please continue to reach out to us and we'll do the best we can to help you. All right, take care, everybody, and have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.